Welcome to the channel. It's November 9th, 2025, and 400 miles above your head, a silent war is raging. Russian and Chinese satellites are hunting Western birds, stalking, jamming, blinding, and getting ready to kill. Germany just accused Moscow of tailing two of its military Intelsat links for weeks. The UK says Russian jammers hit British satellites every single week. And NATO's top general warns Putin wants nuclear bombs in orbit. This isn't sci-fi. This is the new battlefield where one wrong move can black out GPS, crash airlines, and blind entire armies. Tonight, in one unbroken 3,000-word voiceover, we're taking you from the foggy streets of Berlin to the edge of space, how Russia and China turned the final frontier into a kill zone, why your Starlink could go dark tomorrow, and whether the West is already too late. Hit subscribe, because when the sky goes blind, you'll want to know why. Let's start in Berlin, September 2025. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius steps to a podium packed with space CEOs. His words are ice. Russia's actions in space pose a fundamental threat we can no longer ignore. Behind him, classified slides show two Russian Cosmos series spy sats creeping within 50 meters of German-armed Intelsat birds. That's close enough to read the serial numbers with a camera, or fry the electronics with a laser. Pistorius drops a €35 billion bombshell. Germany is building counter-space weapons, bodyguard satellites, and laser defenses. The room gasps. Europe just declared war in orbit. Cut to London. Major General Paul Tedman, head of UK Space Command, tells the BBC Russian satellites are stalking ours weekly. They carry payloads that see our birds and jam them from the ground. Translation: every time a British Skynet relay beams troop movements to Ukraine, a Russian ground station in Kaliningrad blasts noise until the signal drowns. Tedman's team tracks 3 to 5 incidents every 7 days. That's not testing. That's combat rehearsal. Now, zoom out to the big picture. Since Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Moscow and Beijing have turned space into a joint kill web. Ukrainian intel says Chinese Yaogan reconnaissance sats now fly daily passes over Donbass, feeding targeting data to Russian artillery. In return, Russia shares electronic warfare tech that blinds Starlink terminals on the front line. It's a pact written in orbit. China brings the cash, Russia brings the chaos. So how does satellite spying actually work? Picture this: you're a $200 million Intelsat in geostationary orbit, 22,000 miles up, beaming secure calls for the German Bundeswehr. Suddenly, a Russian Lutcholymp inspector set slides into your blind spot. It's the size of a minivan, packed with cameras, antennas, and, according to size, robotic arms. It lingers for 72 hours, sucking up every whisper of data. Ground stations in Crimea triangulate the signal. Moscow now knows your encryption keys, your bandwidth, your weak spots. That's intelligence collection. But flip the switch, and the same arm can ram you into oblivion. The line between spy and assassin is one software update. Detection is easy. Intent is impossible. Every satellite broadcasts a unique NORAD ID. When Cosmos 2558 parks next to Intelsat 39 for a month, analysts don't need imagination. They need countermeasures. France is already testing bodyguard sats, mini escorts that shadow VIP birds and zap intruders with microwaves. The US Space Force calls them angels with tasers. Let's talk jamming. Russia doesn't need to touch your satellite to kill it. From a truck in Kaliningrad, a Krasuka 4 system blasts 10 gigawatts of noise at GPS frequencies. Result? Your phone says searching. Airline pilots revert to 1960s navigation. Ukrainian drones crash. It's soft kill, cheap, and deniable. The UK logged 47 jamming events in the North Sea last quarter alone. Fishermen lost GPS, wind farms lost control. Russia calls it training. NATO calls it active war. Now, the nightmare scenario: nuclear weapons in space. In May 2024, NATO tabled a UN resolution banning orbital nukes. Russia vetoed. China abstained. US intel says Moscow tested a nuclear-powered ASAT, a satellite that can detonate an EMP and fry every unshielded chip in low Earth orbit. One boom, and Starlink, GPS, weather satellites, gone. Global GDP loses $2 trillion in a week. Putin denies it. His actions scream otherwise. History rhymes. Rewind to 2015. A Russian Olympk set parked next to two Intelsat birds for 5 months. The US called Moscow. No answer. In 2017, France launched the CSO-1 spy sat with Italy. Within days, Russian inspector sats were sniffing its exhaust. In 2021, Russia blew up its own satellite with a missile, creating 1,500 pieces of debris that nearly hit the ISS. Message: we can turn orbit into a shotgun. China plays the long game. Beijing has 500-plus satellites, second only to the US, and growing by 100 a year. Their Shenzhen 21 has a robotic arm that can grab your sat and park it over the Pacific to die. In 2023, it practiced high-speed rendezvous at 8 km per second, fast enough to dodge any defense. Analysts call it space dogfighting. The Pentagon calls it checkmate. Europe is waking up late. Germany's €35 billion is a start, but spread over 5 years, it's €7 billion annually, less than SpaceX makes in 1 quarter. The UK pledged £1 billion for laser sensors but cut ground radar funding. France wants 50 bodyguard sats by 2030. At current pace, they'll have 5. NATO declared space an operational domain in 2019 and said Article 5 applies. But when Russia jammed UK sats last month, no one invoked it. Why? Because no one agrees what attack means in orbit. The US still leads, 1,000 plus military sats, $20 billion annual budget, but even they're stretched. Space Force tracks 40,000 objects daily. 10% are active. 90% are junk that can kill. One Chinese grappler sat can create 10,000 new pieces in a second. The math is brutal. Russia's weakness? Integration. Ukrainian troops found Su-35 jets with taped-on Garmin GPS because GLONASS failed. Moscow buys commercial imagery from Planet Labs because its own sats are blind. China has the tech. Russia has the intent. Together, they're greater than the sum. What can the West do? Hardening, shield cables, add redundancy. Maneuverability, make sats dance. Counterspace, lasers, jammers, kinetic kill vehicles. Diplomacy, a new outer space treaty with teeth. None are fast enough. A single ASAT test today creates debris for decades. Imagine the blackout. No GPS planes ground. ATMs freeze. Power grids flicker. Stock markets crash. Ukraine loses drone strikes. NATO loses eyes. China invades Taiwan under cover of darkness. All from one detonation at 500 kilometers altitude. This is the space kill chain. Stalk, shadow your sat for months. Jam, blind it weekly. Dazzle, laser the sensors. Grab, robotic arm repositions. Kill, missile, nuke, or ramming. Russia and China are on step 3. The West is debating step 1. Germany's €35 billion buys 10 bodyguard sats and ground lasers. The UK tests space radar. France dreams of orbital interceptors. The US launches proliferated constellations, thousands of cheap sats so no single kill matters. But deployment is 2030. The threat is now. Final thought, space is ungoverned. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty bans nukes, but not lasers, jammers, or grapplers. No speed limits. No DMZs. First mover wins. Russia and China are moving. The West is talking. When the next Cosmos sat parks next to Starlink 3401, will we jam it? Ram it? Or watch it die? Your internet, your flight, your army's eyes, all hang on that decision.